This is James Arthur Ray, the author of the New York Times bestseller Harmonic Wealth and my latest book, Life Unleashed Blueprint: How to Live Life on Your Own Terms, Harness Your Unique Genius, and Have Maximum Impact on the World. You ready to do that? Now, here we are in installment number 3, I believe, in our series on how to be happy, engaged, and totally fulfilled in your life. Hopefully you've been following right along week after week. If you haven't, go back and catch the first 2 because these build upon each other, and I hope you're taking great notes because I know that you really want to be happy in your life, right? You want to be fully engaged and alive. I mean, research tells us that 71%, Gallup polls tell us that 71% of the people in the world are getting up every single day going to a job that they hate. They're not engaged, they're not fulfilled, they're not happy. Really? What's the point? That's almost 75%. Almost 3/4 of the population. And I know you don't want that. And so, what's the third factor? Well, let's go back and recap the first 2. First, you have to set clear goals. We talked about the difference between a vision and a goal. Secondly, you have to set a goal that is in alignment with your innate abilities, your unique genius, the gifts that you have, a goal that you have the ability to accomplish. Now, this is right out of the work of psychologist Mihai Csikszentmihalyi with thousands, multiple thousands of people all over the world, and what it takes to get into a heightened state of awareness called flow, a heightened state of awareness and productivity called flow. And so that second piece, goals that you have the ability to achieve. Now, the third component, so you've got a goal, you know what your unique abilities are, your God-given gifts, and then third, it has to have increasing complexity. In other words, you've got to push the envelope of your past performance. Your best performance of today must become the norm of tomorrow. Put that in your notes, please. Your best performance of today must become the normal performance of tomorrow. Because part of the way we are wired as human beings is to achieve mastery. We talked about that in our last installment. And mastery is an ever-moving target. We must go after increasing complexity. You don't want to reach a place where you have totally mastered something and there's no more challenge, no more complexity, no more growth, right? I mean, how boring would that be? You've got to have increasing complexity in your life. Now, it's important to understand that that has to be done incrementally and it has to be done masterfully. What's the greatest complexity that we should go after? Or I should say the greatest increase in complexity we should go after. Because research also proves that if we go too far, then we break down. We go into crises, psychological, emotional, maybe physical. But if we don't go far enough, we're in boredom. And so we've got to be on the border of what I call chaos and order. In fact, psychological research proves that we learn the most, you learn the most, on that border between total chaos and total order. You don't want things to be totally orderly. That's boredom. You don't want things to be totally chaotic either because that's frightening, right? And so right on that border, here's how you can tell if you're going after increasing complexity in the right way. You have to go after what I call teetering edge goals. Teetering edge. It's a metaphor that I came up with years and years ago. Maybe you've heard me talk about it before. But imagine with me, if you will, for just a moment, that you're standing on the edge of a cliff. Half your foot is off and half your foot is back on. And you're teetering, right? You're just barely keeping your balance there. And every once in a while you're like, oh, I'm going to fall. No. I got it. Oh, I'm not sure. I'm going to fall. Oh, no, I got it. Now, can you imagine or maybe even feel those butterflies that are in your stomach when you're right on the teetering edge? That's the right goal for you. That's the right amount of increasing complexity. You don't quite know if it's excitement or fear. right? Because the physiological effects are pretty much the same, right? Think about a time when you have been totally stoked. I mean, turned on and excited. Think about what's going on in your body. You got it? I mean, if I were to guess, probably you're breathing a little bit more rapidly, your heart's beating a little faster, maybe you're perspiring a little bit. You're turned on. You're excited. You're ready to go. Fired up, right? Now, compare that to, I flash back to my childhood where you're walking down. I had a pretty cantankerous uncle, and he was quite a bit older than me, and I'd be walking down a dark hall as a little kid, and he would always jump out at me out of the darkness. Wow, right? Now, if you've ever had that happen to you, compare the physiological response of being scared in the darkness or being totally stoked. They're pretty similar, aren't they? In fact, if not identical. And so that's the feeling that you want. You're not quite sure if it's fear or if it's excitement, being juiced, being turned on. Because the actual definition of the experience, the physiological experience, is how we frame it in our own minds. Now, there is some research that suggests that actually you should go after about 4% increasing complexity. Now, we talked about this in a previous installment. Incremental gains change the world. So many people want quantum leaps. Well, really, what is that? We want to go from A to Z in one big swoop. Life doesn't work that way. As we've already discussed, we tend to overestimate what we can do in a decade, and we underestimate what we can do in a year. And so that year is what we want to go after, those incremental gains that bring exponential results over time. Increasing complexity, 4%, 4%, 4%, what Anders Ericsson calls deliberate practice. Every single day, you just go the extra inch. You go the extra inch. Maybe not the extra mile, as we've heard. The extra inch, the extra foot, the extra foot, the extra foot. Just a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more. And we improve, we improve, we improve. We become more and more masterful every single day. We're totally committed and focused upon those incremental gains, those increasing levels of complexity. And before we know it, over that decade, we've invested with that as a habit and a regular behavior. We make huge, tremendous strides, and we become masterful. You follow? Hopefully I've given you some things to think about. Once again, I want you to be happy. I want you to be engaged. I want you to be fulfilled, and I know that's what you want for yourself. We'll continue this series. Keep taking notes until we speak again. Stay awake, love life, and be epic.